Good evening, everyone. Just like to welcome everyone to tonight's webinar. And first off, I'd like to pay respects to traditional owners from the lands we meet on, and pay respects to elders past and present, and pay respects to everyone else on the meeting tonight. My name is Johnny Gordon. I'm the chairperson for the Community Reference Group, and tonight we'll be talking about the concept plans for the precinct 1, or activation 1, phase 1 of the precinct that we're dealing with along the river. And I'd like to hand over now to, before we get to hand over, I'd just like to remind people that we can ask questions tonight, and feel free to put them in the chat box, and there'll be some, you'll get some live answers as the night goes on. So I'd like to hand over now to Carolyn Hamdorf and Sue Newell to do the presentation. Thank you.
Johnny. Hello, my name's Carolyn Hamdorf. I'm the Manager for Arts, Culture and Recreation. Johnny, who has just spoken, is actually the Chair of the Community Reference Group for the Riverfront Activation Project, of which we're going to show you some draft concept maps. Sue Newell is the Project Manager for this precinct, and Sue will spend the majority of the time sharing with you the draft concept maps that have gone out for public feedback. I will just spend the first part of this meeting just giving a very quick summation of the project, of where we're at the moment, and then at the end providing an opportunity for people to either ask questions through the chat line. So if you're unfamiliar with using the chat line on Zoom, down the bottom of your screen, if you roll your cursor or your mouse along the bottom of the screen, you'll see that there are a number of like icons. There's one icon that says chat. It's like a little speech bubble. You can click on that and it will bring up a side panel that you can actually add to and ask questions as we go. We would like this to be relatively informal and be able to answer questions as we go through the discussion. We've got about 7 people as attendees at the moment. We are also recording this webinar, and we will be putting it up onto the council's website as well to be reviewed after this evening. So there are 3 in total. There'll be 3 webinars in total, which cover different aspects of the project. This project will be actually outlining, the primary purpose is to outline the public plans, the public draft concept plans, and to gather any questions. The questions, as I've mentioned, are going to be through the chat line. So we will read the questions and read out the question and respond to your question as we go. So hopefully that will work for you. And from a viewing perspective, hopefully it will also support those people who rewatch this webinar. So just to start off with, I'm just going to very quickly just give you a bit of a very quick summation of where we are at this point in time. On the council website, there is quite a lot of detail around how the project has evolved from the master plan. Many of you would have been involved and or aware of last year council undertaking a master plan for city to river. This project is the first phase of looking at further developing plans around the city to river master plan. All of the feedback that was provided by the community through 2019 has been gathered, summarised, and actually provided to the Community Reference Group, which is a really critical link between the project and council and the community to ensure that there is transparent and well-considered engagement through all stages of developing the concept plans. Johnny chairs that meeting. There are another I think 7 or 8, actually probably 9 people involved in that reference group, which have met very frequently since its formation in April. That group has been a really primary and important group for council staff and a senior council or a council executive to be able to gain an understanding of community feedback and interests in developing the concept plan. The concept plan that we're showing tonight is still a draft. It's still very much a live item. We're looking for community feedback over the next 2 weeks until the 23rd of August, and really interested in getting further ideas and further input into what will end up developing into a final concept plan where we can take to the next stage over the next month or so to develop more detailed plans. So at the moment we have a draft plan that's out for public comment. Sue's going to share that with you tonight, and hopefully we'll get some further feedback or input from you. You can also, after tonight's webinar, go onto the council website, and there are some simple links from the front page where you can quickly provide a review of the maps. You can download the maps and you can provide some feedback, and we're very interested in what the public has to say about the draft plans. I'm going to leave it there. I'm going to hand over to Sue. I'll be watching the chat line as Sue speaks and hopefully responding to any questions that might pop up. Thanks, Sue.
Thank you, Carolyn. Good evening, everyone. As Carolyn mentioned, I'm the project manager for the first stage of the City to River, which is the Riverfront part of the project. I'm going to share my screen with you, which is going to show you the maps that we're now put out. So what we're looking at here is the whole of the Riverfront Stage 1. So it basically starts at the rowing club just over here and goes all the way through until the showgrounds where that newly constructed fence has gone in. There's also some trees that have gone in just the other side of the bridge there. So that's the Riverfront Stage 1. We've tried to break it up into sections. The whole master plan is a very big piece of work. So that's actually been broken up into 7 stages, and this is actually the first. So if I just start over here, this is a very small map. So we're going to have a look at these in slightly more detail, but I just wanted to give you the total view first of exactly the area that we're talking about. So I'll move on to giving you a look at the first part, which is Area A. Area A is and encompasses the rowing club and the proposed water play area. So if I start over here, the blue line indicates the existing path that's there at the moment, and it is proposed as part of this project to actually widen that path to make it a more standardised path for 3 metres so that it can be utilised by both cyclists and pedestrians. So at the rowing club, there is some existing public toilets which need a bit of a facelift. The plan is to actually make an all-accessible toilet and to fix up this car parking area so that when cars actually pull off, there might be a all-accessible park here. The gradient will be right so that you can actually safely get to the toilet, which is on the side of the building here. So it may need to be extended in some form. These paths, there is actually a blind corner coming around to the rowing club. And this is quite a steep gradient at the moment, which is all in grass down to the river. Now, getting boats in and out of there, and with bikes coming around this blind corner, you know, it is a bit dangerous. So the idea is to actually fix that up, make the path out wider so you have a better view, and also actually have this as a more stable platform so you can wash boats and get them in and out as you need to do. There is actually a separate grant gone into this project, but it's actually the linkage between Apex Island across to these toilets. So that's why that's just shown like that, because that project, if we got the funding for that, we would carry that out separately, but that's another linkage point. Over here is the newly proposed building for the rowing club. The rowing club, you know, need to extend their facilities in terms of having, you know, better gym, and they're very keen to have additional co-location so that it can be utilised by other people. It may have a glass front on this, you know, just so that it can be maximise the usage of it. The points, I'll just point out, they'll see these all the way along the river in the plan that's proposed. And what they are, I was just going to give you a quick look, but they're down a bit further, so I'll get to that in a minute. They are actually access points out onto the river. So it might be that there's seating or a place where you can come and do some fishing or something like that. This is the proposed water play, which is, this is the caravan park over here. So the water play is very much a natural water play facility. And what I mean by that is, you know, there's no, you know, tipping buckets and mushrooms. It's very much around natural play. And to give you a better idea of that, I'm just going to zoom in a little bit on these play area here, just to show you some images of the types of natural water play we're talking about. So it's very much, it's hands-on, it's hand pumps, it's the ability to make water flow through an area and actually use it in a play environment. So it might be creeks with little beds of water and trickling through it and things like that. And so the amount of water usage is not anticipated to be great, but very much in keeping with our environment along the river, which is one of the biggest feedbacks that we got when we were doing our master planning process. A lot of the feedback said that, you know, we wanted to preserve our natural environment. And so that water play very much fits in with that theme. So the toilets to be able to be utilised as part of this water play, there's a proposal there. We've worked very closely with the CMA and DELP to come up with, you know, the best design that we think that would happen along a flood or potential flood area, and how we might make all of that work in that environment. And BGLC have also been involved in that as well. So we've got a cultural heritage management plan, and we're working to make sure that, you know, we consider all of those factors. So I'll just scroll down to the next plan. The next plan is and covers the newly proposed cafe, which is here. Now, as part of this project, it's not to build a cafe, it's to actually have a cafe siting. And so that's what this is. It's making sure that all of the permits, all of the planning permits and any other impediments are actually addressed, and that it actually is a site that someone could actually potentially build a cafe on in the future. Number two is actually the meeting place, or what's been defined as the meeting place. And a meeting place can be anything, can be artwork, rocks, a sign. And so it's designed that actually it's exactly that there might be seating around it and you can actually meet there. As I mentioned before, number 5 is these access points out onto the river. The idea being that you would come in, this is a two-way access into the car park here. So the existing Angling Club Rooms car park. There is a couple of proposed new linkages, which would mean that you can safely get from Sawyer Park through to the newly refurbished toilets, which we would need to fix up and make more accessible parking just along here. So this path is really just so that you don't have to walk through the car park or garden. You've actually got a safe passage all the way through to the cafe if that's what you wanted to do. So the two-way in and entry. Then we've got the proposed additional shelter at the front of the Angling Club Rooms. The idea being that it extends the veranda for future usage. So when the Angling Club is booked out or booked by someone, they can also use this outdoor area. But when it's not being used by that, it's available to the public. There might be tables and chairs and just some additional things underneath there. Over here is the existing barbecue area. We already have some chairs and tables, and we plan to expand that even further. So perhaps make some better shade in that area and have, some more tables and chairs and barbecues, just to encourage more people to use the space. And number 11 is just some proposed seating that would go along in front of the already existing, there's a barrier there, and it's just some proposed seating to go there. I'm just going to see, I just wanted to show you just some images of perhaps some meeting places. There is a cafe there in the background, but just to give you a bit of a visual image of perhaps what it might look like. And just over here is what I talked about before, where you're actually interacting with the river. And here's a couple of different examples of what that might look like and how that might be set up. So that's about it on the plans. As you would understand, the Community Reference Group have gone through a series of plans to get to this point, and in addressing all of the key stakeholders, both adjacent and within the area, all of their needs. So the miniature railways still have access. Angling club rooms have maintained some parking, and obviously that's very important for other users in that space as well, and trying to encourage more use of the barbecue area as well. So that's probably about it from me. If there is any questions, it can go back to you, Carolyn.
Great. I've just checked in with our IT guru, and because we've got quite a small group, we actually will open up because we weren't sure how many people will be logging on tonight, and webinars can get a little unruly if there's heaps and heaps of people in the room, but we've only got a small number, so we can actually open up the forum for people to ask verbal questions, and then Sue, Johnny and/or I can respond to those questions. Just a word of warning, if you are asking a question, we will be bringing people's cameras up, so make sure you look pretty. It's just, so if you're in your pajamas, that's okay. We're only going to see obviously your head up, but just fair warning that when we enable people's microphones, your camera will also come on, and if you prefer not to, you can mute yourself or shut your camera off, I think, from my understanding. So we'll enable people to be able to ask verbal questions. If you still want to just put a question into the chat line, you can certainly do that as well, and we'll respond to them as well. While we're getting that set up, I do just want to, I'm going to share my camera and my screen at the moment, and just share with you the ways that you can provide feedback formally, and then we'll open up to questions. I'm just going to share my screen. I'm going to share with you the council website page, and just run you quickly through, because what we're trying to encourage people is, yes, we want to share information about the draft plan, but we're also very, very interested in hearing from lots of different and diverse community reps. So on the council web page, or on the main page of the council website, there is a banner which basically enables people to view the draft plans and provide feedback. Basically what you need to do is just click on the info page, and it will take you to a landing page where there are a number of buttons. One is that, and we also, the feedback that we want from people is informed feedback. So we really want to make sure that people have had a chance to view the maps. If there are any questions that people have, there are avenues of actually seeking answers to questions besides this webinar tonight. And then an opportunity so you can download a copy of the plans, and then you can also submit your feedback, which is basically a series of 5 questions and an open question at the end in case there are other feedback that you want to provide. If you want to know more information, so covering off on some of the information we've shared tonight, there's a link underneath the feedback page, which actually takes you to a broader page which houses all the information about the project, including the webinars. So here's tonight's webinar link. Tomorrow or the day after, as soon as possible, we will have that as a viewable webinar. So you can re-watch, like this one here, the first webinar, the second webinar, and the third webinar will be listed, will be shown tomorrow as well. The webpage also outlines a little bit about the project, what's being looked at. You can look at the maps that Sue has shown tonight, the large format maps, or a smaller printable A4 version of the maps. Talks a little bit about other avenues to provide feedback as well. So we're running a series of small group webinars like this, just really quite small sessions during the day and on weekends, and you can register for those if you want further information. We have the online feedback form, which is the same form as on the front page. There's also a series of fact sheets that people can view down here. Various topics, there's 5 currently up there at the moment about the water play area, about themes that are informing the concept plan, what engagement has been undertaken so far, who the CRG is and what they've done, and also the ways that you can engage over the next few weeks. And the final part on that page is basically a bit of information about the community reference group. And I just wanted to let you know that the feedback that we're encouraging people to undertake is not only online. There have been some efforts made in this particular tricky period of COVID to provide avenues for people to view the maps offline. So at 45 Firebrace Street and at the Angling Club Rooms, there are hard copy large posters of the maps that Sue showed tonight and some paper copy feedback forms that people can lodge. The other option that came out in the advertiser this week, the weekly advertiser, is a double page spread with the map, the overarching map, the feedback form, and ways that people can provide their feedback. Some community reference members have nominated some times where they're happy to take calls about the project and talk to you about the project, answer any questions and take feedback. So there are 5 community reference group members. Their numbers are just in that drop-down box. So this is the point, if you like, of getting further information, downloading the maps, seeing the more complex maps, understanding where you can actually provide your feedback. I just wanted to share that with you before we open up for questions. I'm just going to unshare my screen now.
Carol, I think the mics are on, so if people want to just ask whenever they're ready, if they've got questions, you can ask away.
And it's okay if people don't have any questions, because there's always, there's quite a lot of information that's available on where the project has evolved to.
Yeah, to Sue. Oh, yes. Thank you, Sue. I would suggest you additionally explain improvement to the pathway under the bridge and the development on the other side in terms of trees and flower beds, and access to the adjacent parking area in the showgrounds, because the people coming from the city side of the bridge, they could park in the showgrounds and walk around to these other riverfront places.
That is correct, Bob. So the final part of the plans that we were just looking at before, and I'm happy to share this map again if that would make more sense, and explain what Bob is saying here. So if I just go up to the large map, which is this one here, the area that Bob is referring to is number 13. Coming with the path coming down as it is at the moment, the gradient is very steep coming around in underneath the bridge. Part of that plan is to actually level out that's just to make it more user friendly for users, and also perhaps upgrade the lighting in underneath there for safety reasons as well. Number 13, where it's indicated on the map here, is where the existing, there was some old stables and things that have actually now been cleared away, and it's now a irrigated land, irrigated grassed space. That has now just recently had all of the trees go in, and that was part of an ongoing council project that it's been going over the last couple of years. But that's actually, this has been included in here because some of those access links and the way that works, we want to make sure that that all is incorporated into the actual plan. So the idea being that there would be some paths and some additional garden beds go into this area, and the car park that Bob was referring to is the one that is just on the other side of the fence here in the showgrounds.
Thank you.
If you have a question or a comment, I was just making the comment before that sometimes when you view a plan, it's always good to reflect and have a look at it again. So you certainly can at any time join any of those webinar sessions that are running during a morning or an afternoon if you want to revisit and re-see the plans. We're certainly encouraging people to do that, or again download the plans to view at your leisure. So there are a number of options to revisit. You don't necessarily have to have all of your questions answered tonight, and you might have other questions upon reflection of the plans. So I'm just going to open it up again to the attendees. There's someone with their hand up. Jenny, would you like to ask a question?
I was wondering what is going to happen to the log shed near the rowing club. Bob asked about it the other day, and I gather it's occupied by possums.
That is actually true, Jenny. It is occupied by possums at the moment. There isn't actually a plan at the moment to do anything with that building. We've just tried to leave it there. It is obviously not really habitable at the moment. However, there is full services there. So there's, power and water, and, should we need to in the future, there can be, pop-up cafes or anything like that coming to that space. So at the moment, there is no exact plan on what we will do with that building.
Thank you.
Are there any further questions from any of the people who have joined us, the attendees? Do any of the members of the CRG, the Community Reference Group, who are present want to make any comments?
Caroline, no real comment. I think Sue explained it very well.
Thank you, Ray.
And the possum building is going.
It's really funny how everyone actually has an opinion on the possum building, which is really encouraging. It's great. But yes, Rob, after 32 face-to-face meetings, I think Carolyn and I know the plan quite well.
Good. Intimate knowledge.
Yeah, Phil here. Yeah, congratulations, ladies. It's you covered everything there, and the more feedback we get, the better. And keep it up.
Thank you, Phil.
Bob here. To you, Johnny, I'd like to ask Sue, in the meeting place, have there been discussions with the Barenji Land Council on a display of Aboriginal history or something like that?
There has been some previous discussions, Bob, in regards to having some form of whether it's storytelling or native birds that are to the area, or something that actually tells a story along the pathway. So not so much at the meeting place, but actually incorporated throughout the site, so that you, as you go along, you would either see the story, or you might see Indigenous names of birds or fish, or whatever the case may be. So we're just working through how that might be incorporated into the whole site, including the water play area. As you know, we've talked about that. And yeah, so it's not really in one location. It'd be great to have it incorporated through all of it.
Sue, not a question as such. A previous project I was involved in the gardens in Treasury Place, one of the things that we did there, which, because it was similar, it had people walking through it,
Yep.
was that as you entered, you were able to download an app to your iPhone, and as you came to each spot along the path, you actually picked up the story of what was associated with that particular spot.
What a lovely idea.
It needs a bit of IT work to do it, but it's not actually activated as yet, because I quit work before it finished.
Don't tell me that. Yeah, no, but that's a wonderful idea. And in fact, Bob has mentioned a few times about the history in the site, and also the war history. And it sort of comes to mind too that something like that, as you go along and learn more about it, would be fantastic as well.
It would work well for the RSL Memorial.
Yeah.
And it would also work at the meeting place, I think.
Yep, definitely.
And it all comes through on your phone. It'll link directly to your phone. I can get more details on that if you like.
Yeah, that'd be good actually, if you could, Ray. If it's already been done and there's an app that, So yeah, that'd be great.
Good. Now I'm going to enjoy my wine.
Oh, okay. We're not holding you up. Thanks for
We'll open it up just for a little longer. We don't necessarily need to take the full hour that's been scheduled. Certainly if people's questions have been answered and there are no further questions, we certainly can wrap this up a little earlier. So we'll just check through and make sure that there are no further questions that people may have, or comments that the CRG members may want to share. Again, can I just say that there are many and varied avenues for people to provide feedback. We'd be very interested in hearing any formal feedback that you have through the online versions or the paper format versions that are available at 43 Fibrae Street or at the Angling Club rooms. I'd just like to thank people for attending tonight, and I'm going to pass back over to Johnny.
Thanks, Carolyn, and thanks, Sue. It was actually a pretty good presentation. I hope people, get on and view it on, later on if they can. And just like to thank you guys for the content, and thank those that attended tonight. And hopefully we can get people to get some, feedback via the 5 methods that Carolyn outlined earlier. And we want feedback, and we can't make changes if you don't put some in. So encourage everyone out there who watches this to put your feedback in, have your say, and then hopefully we can, us as the CRG can help put any extra plan or extra ideas and that into the current plan. Just like to thank everyone for attending again, and good night.